What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Basically Complicated. To my right, you have my best friend, Beth Landis. Over here, you have my best friend, Evan Bronkema.
Hello.
To my left, you have my best friend and wife, Julie Adkins. I am Mark Adkins, and today we're going to be talking about the dentist.
The dentist.
I have many horrible stories about the dentist.
Yeah.
I'm gonna filter through them, so I don't need to share first.
I'll start. I'm sorry.
Go, Beth!
Elmo's in the whatever this is.
The closet? Elmo's in the closet.
Elmo is here now. That's it.
Okay, Beth, go.
Yep, no, he's here. Twice.
I don't have like a crazy dentist story, but I have a fake tooth. It's this one for the listeners and watchers at home.
Can you tell us which one it is for the listeners at home?
I'm gonna lick it for them.
Oh.
It's too much. It's a little too much. Anyways,
No, for real, which one is it though?
oh, it's this one, my left. That one.
The left
Yeah.
front one.
Yep. So it happened when I was like 8. Yeah.
Can you take her out?
No, she's in there for good. The worst part is though, well, I hope that's my biggest fear actually, is it's gonna like fall out eating a corn cob. Corn on the cob.
Eating a corn cob. Corn's gone. Eating the corn cob.
Anyways, it happened to me when I was like 8. And basically I was like running and my aunt was opening the freezer door and we were like vacationing together in this house. And I must have been like, which is how I do most things in life. Just like, and then it like
Teeth
split.
first. Yeah.
It's my shining quality. Anyways, so then I got like a adhesive tooth on it, and I was like, I had that for years and years. And then one time I was in choir at church, and I was eating like a caramel apple sucker, and I like pulled it out, and there was my tooth, and I was like, I have to go. And I was like, what do I do? And so
That's the real stuff too. Yeah.
Now it's shaved down to a peg, like a little peg that this tooth is over.
Oh, you got a crown on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't show me what it looks like. What it looks like. And I like whipped out my flip phone at 16 and I was like, I'm gonna see. And I was like, you're a monster. Put it away.
You're a monster.
Seriously, if I get married ever and this thing falls out, I will be like divorced
Yeah, you'll be in
immediately.
trouble.
He will be like, you're dead to me if you're a monster.
It's truly horrifying.
It
what
really
looks like.
is.
Although, that's a great lead-in to what happens when that happens.
Yeah, so Beth and I are tooth buddies because I also have a fake tooth.
Of course. I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah.
How did I
Were we
not
high-fiving? Is that
ever
what you're
know
doing?
that?
We're like,
She gave it to herself. Let's steal it.
Yeah,
need a judge
fake
again, I'm
tooth. So
sorry.
I don't... Mine, I think, is the right one. So I think our fake teeth are opposite.
yeah, okay.
So together you have one whole mouth.
We make a barely functional mouth.
Yes.
But yeah, so when I was super young, probably around the same age, I was like 8 or 9, I was chasing my brother on a bike. So he was on a bike, I was on a bike, and I was weaving in and out of the painted lines in the street. So I was weaving in and out, and my tire basically jackknifed, and I went into the street, over the handlebars, Superman into the street. I didn't get a scratch. I didn't get a bruise. I was just like, Jesus, take me.
Your teeth out.
Landed on. Yeah, it's the way to do things. Teeth first. I didn't have I didn't have a scrape. I didn't have a bruise. I literally hit my front tooth, and the whole thing popped out. And that's the only injury
not
that
broken.
I had. No, the whole thing, root and everything.
Wow.
Popped out. And I remember laying in the street, in my blood. And my brother ran home and was like, Mom, Dad, you have to come out. Mark is in the street and he's covered in blood. And that's all they knew. So my dad books it into the street, picks me up, takes me to the dentist. I had never had a cavity before this point, so I hadn't had any shots. I hadn't had any
Oh yeah,
mouth
you got the
work.
whole 9 yards.
And so they gave me a shot in my tooth hole.
Oh.
And I remember not liking that, so I jerked my head, bent the needle. So then I was like, I don't want more shots. That needs to stop. And they were like, well, we have to. So they had 8 people hold me down because I'm this little 8-year-old hopped up on adrenaline and pain. Gave me the shots, shoved the tooth in my mouth. That hurt. So that's said and done. But that tooth, because it was out of my mouth for so long,
He did say that.
Fall out
Terry.
right then. Tooth.
So that tooth eventually died because it was out of my mouth for so long. So I had to get a root canal.
Wait,
Yeah,
that was a lot of information. Small amount of time.
For sure.
So the tooth was in, and you got a shot in it. You bent the needle. They put a fake tooth in, just like popped it right
real
into
tooth.
Regular tooth.
They took the real tooth.
Oh,
so
see, that's what I did
fun
not
fact for
understand.
everyone: if your tooth falls out, put it in milk because it'll preserve it longer.
because calcium.
Interesting.
Because milk, because
Strong for your
bones.
Cows have strong teeth, and so that transfers
Cows.
through. That transfers through the milk. You can't put it in almond milk; it has to be genuine cows.
Man, how will we survive as a society?
Now we know.
We're all lactose intolerant.
So they put my real tooth back in, and I remember them like putting in adhesive and like shoving it back in my mouth, and like it stayed.
I imagine that like we lost our teeth at the same time in life.
Yeah, it
and
was
like
this
they
crystallizing moment.
and like angels and cherubs like da 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 da, and then we went on our way.
Yeah, like that was
that's
the
when our
moment where
paths.
destiny
Yes.
like
Running
locked us
into a
in.
freezer door. Him running into the street.
So I had
That makes more sense.
I had a root canal on that. So when you have a root canal, your tooth is dead. So it no longer has any living properties. So it doesn't whiten itself. It just like decays over time.
Is it dead?
It's dead. So
Thank you for clarifying.
years and years passed. I go through college, and Julie and I are about to get married. And so as a wedding gift, my mom tells me like, we're going to get you a crown for your tooth, so you don't look like a ridiculous person with this like dark tooth in your wedding. I was like, thanks, Mom. That's a great wedding present. So the process of that is they shave your tooth down to a nub, and you get a temporary tooth while they make your permanent tooth. So you have like this 2-week period where you're waiting for the permanent one to come in, and you have this fake one on.
This happened before your wedding.
Yeah. So I graduated in May. I have my dental appointment, and our wedding's in June. But the other thing was, between graduation and the wedding, I was interviewing for jobs. So we were moving to Wisconsin, so I had a job interview in Milwaukee. And so I was like, I had this temporary crown, like I had it on like 2 days before, and they like put in, it's a temporary cement, but it's supposed to be strong. And they were like, you'll be totally fine. It's going to hold, no problem. Like, go do your interview. And I was like, awesome. So I'm driving to Milwaukee by myself. I left at like 4 in the morning because I had an interview at 9, and there's a time change, so I wanted to make sure I was there in time. So I'm driving. I'm going through Chicago, and I have, like, you always have like road snacks, so I was like popping Twizzlers and Skittles.
Sure.
And I remember, like,
As
as
road
anyone does.
Because you got road snacks.
And so I remember like eating candy and being like, oh, there's something in here that's not candy. And I like
Something in here is in your mouth.
in my mouth, not in the car.
Not chewy.
There's something in this Twizzler bag.
There's something in the car.
Twizzler.
And I remember like spitting it out, and my temporary tooth had come out of my mouth. So I have like, you look like a hillbilly because it's your front tooth is gone and it's shaved down to a nub. So I'm going to a job interview with my fake tooth out. And so I was like, I
And
remember.
this is like marketing, super high, like businessy.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey there, my name's Mark. I can do some of them graphic designer thing.
Right. So I remember calling
truck in my backyard.
I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, my tooth is gone. Like, it's out. What do I do? And so she called the dentist. The dentist thankfully called me and was like, hey, if you go to Walgreens, they have temporary tooth filling.
It's like
So
a
you
cement.
can put it back in your mouth and hope it sticks. So I drove to a Walgreens in Milwaukee, picked up a little vial of temporary tooth cement, went into the Walgreens bathroom, mixed it together, put it in my mouth, shoved my tooth on, and went to my interview and like tried to keep my mouth closed as much as possible so the tooth wouldn't fall out. I'm wearing Mark Adkins. I'm a graphic designer. Got the job.
That's unbelievable.
And that, yeah. Did you ever tell them that story afterwards? That you-
Much later. Much later.
Yes.
But yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, they say like fear or stress like can help you. So like imagine doing your first job interview as a professional with the constant fear that your tooth could just at any moment like hit your boss.
I would have
Fire out of
never
your
done
mouth.
the interview. I'd have been like, I'm
Oh
out.
no, yeah. And I'm
But-
like, I can't do this.
Can I share that the temporary tooth is like literally like a piece of corn? Like it's
Yeah,
yellow,
it's like a chiclet.
it's big, it's like larger than all the rest. And I was like, Mom, they won't like me at school. I'm kidding. I was like 18, but still,
Yeah.
it's a debacle.
Yeah, it's truly terrible.
Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah,
It's like large
I've never even
and yellow.
I've never even gotten close to losing a tooth ever in my
You
whole
don't
life.
wanna.
Yeah.
Unless it's at the same time as we do.
Yeah,
Unless it was the culmination of all.
a destiny moment.
Wait, you
Yes.
said you were 8? And how old were you?
6. No, I'm kidding. I was 8 too, I think.
So,
Well,
probably.
we were 8 at
Around-
the same time.
Right, I know. But I don't want them to know.
We'll cut that.
Shh, the viewers.
I was gonna say I'll just share mine super quick because I don't have as cool of stories, but I did lose my front tooth.
Sorry, go ahead. Yep.
Go
Nope, I
ahead.
hear. Nope. Please go. Yep.
All I was gonna say is I also lost my front tooth. The very first tooth that I lost was because of a bike accident, but I was chasing the neighbor boy on my bike.
Was he a
Not
cute,
chasing.
a cute neighbor boy?
Oh, for sure.
Like you were chasing because you wanted.
No, we were like being really competitive. Like I was trying to keep up, and he was on his bike.
Fast.
I knew I had to win.
But when we were living, I'm just gonna keep going. When we were living in Indianapolis, like the curbs that we had weren't smooth. Like they were like very
It was like a step.
high curbs. Yes, like a step curb with each driveway. And so we lived at the end of a cul-de-sac. And
The
so
driveway was a step?
No.
Like
I don't
road,
know. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
driveway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Step.
like road, curb, driveway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Kind of. There's a bump up to your driveway.
Yes.
That's what we're saying.
There was a bump to get to the driveway. It was not.
And it was an
a smooth
Indianapolis
sailing.
bump.
Yeah. So it's really road, cliff, bump,
Right.
driveway, curb.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Yes. All that to say, it was not smooth. It was not an easy plane. And so it was fun with your bike to like jump the curbs. And so this neighbor boy was a few years older than me, and I was trying to keep up, and he was swerving in and out of each driveway, up and, doing popper wheelies or whatever on the curbs, and I was trying to do the same and came down wrong, and same thing, twisted the front tire and fell on my face and lost my front tooth. But
Was that a
That's-
baby tooth or your?
no, it was my baby tooth. But the problem with that
So yes.
too, wait, what? Yes, it was my baby tooth. But because of that, like it wasn't ready to come out, and so I was missing a front tooth for a long time.
Really? I didn't know you were missing one.
Well, because it wasn't ready to grow in.
You're all
like
hicks.
it wasn't.
Every one of you.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is because the baby or the permanent tooth didn't push out the baby tooth, so it
Right.
wasn't ready to come in. So there was
Right,
just
Yeah.
a
Your
long
permanent tooth was
period.
like, whoa, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
we got time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just without a tooth, and I was younger, so it was fine
Yeah.
because people are losing teeth all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So it was an appropriate age
Probably
to be
sounded
missing a
really
tooth.
cute when you did it.
Oh,
Yes,
for
funny
sure.
as
I will
Julie.
say though, shout out to
I flipped
best
on a curb,
friend.
a cliff curb.
Oh my gosh. But shout out to my best friend growing up, Becca Baker. We did everything together, but one of our most proud moments was we lost the exact same baby teeth at the exact same time. There were 3 of them.
Was
and
she
the
also
same-
chasing the neighbor boy then?
At the same time. Like,
Yeah.
I'll get it.
But
She already had the neighbor.
Right.
yes. No, but we have this picture and best friends, had the little bestie keychains
Yeah.
and t-shirts, and we were missing the same
is
teeth at the exact
adorable.
same time. So that's my teeth story.
So to be on this podcast, you have to have a front tooth story.
what's
So
your story?
I can't. I am not basically complicated enough. I don't have a story like that at all. I just hate the dentist.
same.
So, same. Well, yeah, that makes sense. You had all this. So, mine takes a very different turn. So, this is more current. Okay. So, I have to think
I've
about
actually
this.
never seen the dentist.
At my job, I work at a church. So at this church, there's a worship pastor, the Clark family, and the wife is a worship pastor. The husband is a dentist who owns their own practice.
Yeah.
So I didn't go to the dentist for 8 years. This is recent in my life. So just it was bad.
Yeah.
It's really.
And during that time, you should have gone 16 times.
Yes, it was no more than that. It was very irresponsible of me, and So I didn't go for a long time, but then this family that is incredibly generous, the Clark family. Thanks, guys. The Clark family they would take people to go tubing with them on their boat, which is incredibly nice. And so we would go tubing, and I went with them on one of the Sundays or whatever, and I don't remember how this came up in conversation, but someone I think was talking about like a birth defect. I don't know, which this isn't what a birth defect is. I was like, I have a calcium deposit on my tooth, which is not a birth defect, but I think I just wanted to sound cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, it worked. I have a calcium deposit on my tooth, and it was in the front. It's like this big white spot. I had I had it in college, like when I knew you guys.
Yeah.
Forever I had this spot, and I remember talking to like the general car that we were in on the way to go tubing in a speedboat, and my friend Aaron, who is a dentist, was just like, I can fix that, and I was like, you can't. Like, I've never known. He was like, yeah, that's like a really easy, and I think he started to like describe the like procedure to me, and I was like, I don't know what you're saying, but you can fix it. So then he was like, what about like, I was like, can you do this soon? He was like, yeah, like just come by, we'll like do it like tomorrow or whatever, because it was Saturday we were going to do it, so tomorrow was Sunday, and he was like, after church, let's just go, and I was like, what? Okay. So we go, it was after church, and I was like, I'll follow you then, and he's like, yeah, and their whole family had to come because they only took one car. So we all go to this, so it's like a dentist office, like when you imagine a dentist office, like we walked in, and it was like, like the flower pictures and like the cheesy wallpaper, stuff like that. We walked in, and it was closed. He opened it, and then like I sat down on the chair, and it was like, I'm at the dentist office after 8 years. And like sat there, with my friend who's sitting next to me, who is not a dentist because he's my friend, but he is a dentist, and didn't have like the like coat on, so he was just like, yeah, like I was like, this is my friend Aaron, but like he was.
For the record, he is a dentist.
He's a real dentist. I go to him now. Yeah. So he was like, yep. So this is what I'm going to do to explain the procedure again, and I was like, I don't know. And he just like did it. So he like works on my mouth. Then he asks since his family was there, so his wife and his 2 kids, who are, I think at that point they were 6 and 8, maybe 7 and 9. Yeah. It's a boy and a girl. And he was like, hey, to his wife, like, hey, can you help be my assistant? So she was the assistant. She had the sucker thing and would suck like the spit out of my mouth. And it was like, okay, this is like, at one point I just was laughing, like I was sitting in the chair like, this is super weird. And she was like, let me break this down for you. You're at the dentist office. Your friend has his fingers in your mouth right now, and your other friend is sucking the saliva out of the bottom while their 2 kids were like watching and asking questions like, why are his teeth purple right now? And he's like, well, you see, like, daughter, like, we're just going, it was the weirdest experience I've ever had. Like, the light was on, it was very strange and very funny, and he fixed my tooth. But then also at one point, like, one of them was crying, so there's like someone like crying in the background. Like, it was like a real dentist experience after years. So then I started going to him.
I thought you were going to say, like, so he asked his 6-year-old to help, and then she got the scalpel.
Yeah, right. And she really dug in there. No, so he fixed my tooth, and like now there is no calcium deposit. It was one of the like funniest and weirdest experiences.
I love that.
I loved it so much.
Yeah, I just don't like the dentist because like everyone that knows my family knows that like Adkins have terrible teeth, not from like an alignment standpoint, but from a cavity standpoint. Like every time I go to the dentist, I will always, without fail, have at least one cavity. Except for maybe, I can probably count on one hand the amount of times in my life I've gone and not had a cavity.
Have you tried mouthwash? Have you tried brushing your teeth?
We're all natural.
We're all natural.
Adam and Eve didn't have toothpaste.
Right.
And they were fine.
You're right.
No, so here's the thing. Like, I brush my teeth, I floss, I use mouthwash. But let me explain it to you the way my dentist explained it to me. So I was in college.
In college.
So I was in college. I was like a sophomore or junior. So I'm 19, 20-year-old guy. Like, I'm not 8.
Sure.
I know how mouths work. So I brush my teeth, floss, mouthwash. I do all the things. I just have bad teeth. So I go in, and sure enough, I take the x-rays. I have 2 cavities. My dentist comes in, and she sits down next to me. So I'm laying down, and she's like, so you have 2 cavities again. Which we've kind of come to expect. But I want to explain this to you in a way that I think will help you understand. So your mouth is like a war zone, and your teeth are like the Allied forces in World War II. And your saliva is like the Nazis. They're fighting a lot. And right now the Nazis are winning.
Nazis are winning.
If you want to win the war, you can use things like you can brush your teeth more often. That's like the Americans coming to help the Allies. And so, do you understand? And I remember being like, I get it. Like, I know. I know the process. Like,
You could just say my saliva is acidic.
yeah. But it's one of those things where, like, I wanted to walk away. I wanted to walk away being like, you've changed my life. Like, no one's ever explained it like that before. And I get it.
And
now.
one tear fell, and you're like, I get it now.
I'm proud to be an American.
I'm going to describe everything in history just like that.
Right.
Every single. Let me paint a picture for you.
Yeah.
This is how your car accident happened. You're like the Nazis.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
So I also hate the dentist, and thankfully, because he's my friend now, who is my dentist, thank you, Aaron, he will gas me up.
Yeah.
And he'll say it regularly. I mean, like, I get that laughing. Like, we put the mask on, and I've actually taken pictures with it because I do get really, like, I do giggle. It really is the laughing. It is the best. But, I remember the hygiene, like, the very last, this was, like, maybe a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
I had that hygienist was working on my teeth or whatever. And then, like, it was, like, she, like, just started. She's like, oh, do you want to, like, gas? And then, like, in the back, he's in, like, I think one of the side rooms, was like, yeah, gas him up! It was like, thank you, Aaron. Like, it was awesome. Because they know. And he also gives me medicine. I'm going to go to get fillings because I can't drive myself, which is fine. Like, making me as drugged up as you can. Because even with the medicine, I'm like,
Yes.
I can't. I don't like this.
I've cried before.
Yeah.
I had 3 cavities here and 3 cavities here, and like it was someone literally a year older than me working on my teeth, and I'm like, you can't do this. And then she's like in there, and I'm like, it's hurting. And like I'm like 26 at this point, like I'm old enough, and now like tears were streaming, and she's like, we're almost done, and I was like, I hate you so much. I was like, give me drugs.
It's the worst.
Anyways,
I remember one of the many I think I've had 5 root canals, which if you don't know what the root canal is, like they literally drill out your entire tooth,
right,
and kill it.
Don't they like pull back your gums too?
It's a brutal process.
They take your face.
It's really invasive.
It's like a giant.
Yeah, they dislodge your jaw, the whole thing. But I remember, so this was right before college. So this is end of August. I'm getting ready to move into college. She can't do it anymore. She done.
I can do it.
That's what she said at the dentist. I can do it.
So it's end of August. I had this shooting pain in my mouth, which is, if anyone that has had a root canal before, like if your tooth is dying, it's incredibly painful because all the nerves are just firing. So that happened to my eye tooth, where it just like started
Your
shooting pain.
Your what?
Like canine.
Is that like your iPhone? Oh,
Yeah. It's a tech tooth now. So.
It's a microchip.
Yeah, it's gonna hit it. A little hologram pops up, and you can text your friends. Yeah.
So it's dying, and I'm in shooting pain. So I go to the dentist. They're like, "Well, your tooth is dying. You gotta get a root canal." So I go in. I sit in the chair. They numb you up, and then they start drilling. And the standard procedure is if it hurts, you raise your hand. So they're like, we're just going to start drilling. If it hurts, raise your hand.
How many hands? Feet?
So
all
they
fingers.
started drilling, and like I've been through enough dental procedures where it's like I'm used to some of the pain. So like they start drilling, it's like it's fine. And then I was like, I raise my hand. They're like, well, we'll try to numb you up again. So they give me 3 more shots. And they're like, well,
the sound of shots.
Yeah, it was really quick. They didn't even. They just like shot it in my mouth.
Yeah.
Like, we'll come back in 15 minutes. We'll start again. So they come back. They start drilling. I raise my hand. It's like it hurts a lot. And they're like, okay, we'll try one more time. We'll give you shots. So they give me another shot. They come back. They start drilling. I raise my hand, and they were like, look, we hoped this didn't happen, but your tooth is at a point where it can't be numbed. So we have to, like, we're gonna have to do this procedure where your mouth is, where it's not numb. It was one of the most painful things I've ever experienced in my life.
So brush your teeth, kids.
Moral of the story.
Brush your teeth.
Your mouth is a war zone.
Don't let the Nazis win.
That's a good moral of the story.
Don't let the Nazis win.
Didn't it get infected?
Yeah, so the problem was it wasn't numb, so it's super painful, and then it got infected. So 2 days before I have to move into school,
Freshman
my face,
year of college.
my face is swollen from an infection. So I go into urgent care because I have an infection. And so my face is swollen, and they're like, well, we have to give you a shot of, I think it was penicillin. And I was like, all right. I rolled up my sleeve, and they were like, no. Penicillin goes in your butt. So I had to like lay on the table, and get a shot in my butt. So I'm moving into...
Wait, this was at the dentist?
No.
That you
This
know.
is at
Urgent care.
At the urgent care. Okay.
Yeah, so they give me a shot in my butt. So I'm moving into
Where did
college.
you bend over?
Lidocaine.
Right. I just flipped over.
Right.
So I'm moving into college, and I have a limp because I had a shot in my butt. So I'm limping around campus on move-in day, and my face is swollen from my root canal infection. So it's like, hey guys, I'm Mark Adkins, limping around campus with my swollen face.
I'm super playable college.
So yeah, I don't like the dentist.
Wow.
The
How did I
dentist
not
dicey.
know when I lived with you during this time period?
I don't like to talk about
Yeah, it's been years of healing
It's really
after
hard.
that.
Yeah.
This has
gosh.
been a counseling session
Yeah.
for him, actually. Yeah.
It was
Maybe
me.
it's a
I
counseling
counseled.
session for you.
Yeah, I knew it. Okay, I'm done with that because it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we love dentists. We love what they do.
We love the
Very-
work that they do.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't like the
Appreciate
dentist.
it.
I do hate the dentist when I'm there. So,
We hope you do too.
thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.